Hello there, folks. This is a prototype installment of maybe what might become a series that I think I want to call Grandpa Says, which is me, Donnie Rock Danger, an old guy talking about guitars, guitar amps, stoner rock, whatever comes into my mind in that sphere of things. So today we're going to be talking about the Austin, Texas Fender Vintage 2 pop-up event, which was launching the Fender American Vintage 2 pop-up line. If you stick around, I'm going to get to kind of a scandalous part. I'm going to talk about the positives, what was good about the event. I'm going to talk about the guitars. I'm going to talk about what it was like to be at the event. And then I'm going to give you some parting thoughts, of course, at the end. So, again, stick around for the scandal at the end. And I'll see you in a minute. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Welcome to a prototype of what was a first installment of maybe will be a series called Grandpa Says, which is basically an old guy talking about guitars, guitar amps, guitar bands, music, stoner rock stuff, things like that. But today we're going to be talking about kind of a really special event that I was able to attend here in Austin, Texas, which was apparently the first pop-up event that Fender has done. They claim it was to launch the American Vintage 2 guitar series, which is something that I really, like. I'm a Fender fanboy, and they've always had a series or part of their product line which was supposed to be the guitars based on the specs of the 50s, 60s, and then into the 70s, but trying to keep that golden era stuff as authentic as possible, make that available to the buyer. Usually this has been just under custom shop. It's price wise, and so it's not a cheap guitar, but they're really usually really well made, or really have a good reputation for being really well made instruments, production instruments. So this was the new launch. They had it in conjunction with ACL Festival here this year. And I'm going to tell you what it was like here. I'm going to tell you this video, I'm going to break it four ways. I'm going to tell you, first of all, what it was like. If you went to this exclusive event, there was only a couple hundred people there. And then I'm going to review the guitars a little bit. And I'm also going to tell a shocking, scandalous secret of why I think maybe this event was a little bit scurrilous in some ways. And then at the end, I'm going to just give you some parting thoughts, some philosophy at the end to tie it all together. So first, let me talk about the show. They had it downtown in Austin, in East Austin, just close to the Hotel Vegas. If you've ever been around there or here in town for some touristy partying, or during South by Southwest or ACL or something like that, it's just a couple blocks away from Hotel Vegas. And they rented out a place which is called like an event space. They have a lot of this in Austin because they have South by Southwest. They have a lot of pop-up events like this, corporations using these type of facilities that are kind of like shell facilities that they can host an event in. So that's what this was. I think it was a Volcom store at one time, which I don't know if that's skateboards or t-shirts or sneakers or whatever, but now it's just kind of an empty event space with a bar in it. So one thing that was neat was they kind of painted the outside like the original Fender factory or something with the old Fender 50 script. And as I was driving up, I saw that. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good picture of that because the way you came up to the building to enter, you don't enter by where the main building was. So I missed that. So coming in, I was able to just show ID and get in. It seemed like they were kind of had some people at the door to kind of try to filter out the riffraff, but it seemed like kind of anybody decent could have faked their way in there if you knew the event was going on. I guess it was just kind of low key the way they advertised it. I found out about it like they sent out. I'm on the Fender mailing list, so I get just all their weekly, couple times a week, they mail all their corporate stuff, email, barrage. But this was, I'm in Austin and I'm on their mail list, so they sent me an invitation to this. And just the day before, so they catch you unawares. In the email, it said that they're going to have two events, one during the day and then one in the evening. So of course I'm like, well, I don't want to take the whole day off work to go to this. I'll just go to the evening one if they're both probably going to be the same. Mistake, they were not. More about that later. And then they also promise in the ad very vaguely, like some kind of a story, like you're going to be able to buy a Fender Telecaster at 1952 prices, like, $250 you're going to be able to buy a Telecaster for, right? And then you're like, well, could that really be? Maybe it's got to be a limited amount or some kind of sweepstakes or something. So who knows what the details are. Spoiler alert, it was a big rip-off, corporate rip-off as far as I'm concerned. We'll talk to you about that later in the video. Anyways, so it came down, you coming into the place, you kind of enter into the courtyard. There's an outdoor courtyard. It's kind of all low key. There's some booths to get some water or some free drinks. They had bourbon drinks from Bullet Bourbon, and that was free, complimentary all night while the event was going on. Outdoors in the patio, the main thing they had was the drinks and some free tacos you could have made. Or the two main events they had outdoors was sort of this recording booth idea, and then the posters, which were pretty kind of neat. So the recording booth thing was kind of neat. I guess this was something they advertised, like you were going to be able to, this was your main chance to interact with some of these guitars. They had a couple of these guitars. They had two of these booths going, a couple of guitars at each booth. You stand in line, maybe plug your guitar direct in or something. And then for 3 or 4 minutes, you play whatever pops in your head. They're going to record that, give it to you as a disc. And it was kind of like a marriage of all the new technology that was making it. I talked to the guy in the line, and it was like a 1930s or 1940s kind of record cutting lathe that they're using to do this, but it's not cutting on a shellac master or disc. It's cutting onto some kind of plastic CD kind of a thing with, so some kind of high technology head that was writing there to produce these. So that was kind of a neat novelty. And, there was about maybe 6 or 8 guys in line for each of the 2 stations to do that. So I didn't want to stand in line for that, 30 or 40 minutes to just, record some guitar snippets. So I kind of took a pass on that. Went over, saw the posters. The posters that they had were beautiful. I've got one here to show you as an example. Here's the example of the Telecaster. They're all different colors, but they're the exact same size, I think, as a real guitar. And, just immaculate. They give you a sense of how beautiful the guitars are. I showed this to my friend. He said, oh, I know why they give you the poster. If you took that poster home and hung it in your house, you'll definitely, after a month or 2, you'll want to buy the guitar, right? It's so awesome. So it's kind of like give the boy a puppy idea for selling guitars, I imagine. So I went over, got a couple posters, and that's how I could tell who was actually into guitar, who had got some posters. Those are the guitarists, and they seem to be like in the real minority. A couple people walking around outside with the posters. Inside the bar part, not so much. So that was the main thing for outside. What everybody wanted to do then is there's like sort of inside the building or inside the shop is where the live band event entertainment is going on. So that had a very strict capacity of only 100 person capacity, pretty small little room, right? So you had to, they had a lineup outdoors where you could wait and wait in line to get in. And while you're waiting, they were playing, the same live feed from the PA out here onto the patio at, pretty good, decent volume. So I was out there in the lineup, and then I realized, oh my gee, this is, a really good band here from Austin. They've been here for a really long time. They're really, really good. They play a lot here. They kind of get taken for granted, but they're totally international, best shoegaze band, one of the best shoegaze bands in the world, man. They're called Ringo Death Star, and they're fantastic. Just a three-piece. And I thought it was kind of really neat that Fender got them for this event. Number one, because they are one of the best bands here in Austin, that, you know, they were hip enough to pick them, but also that they have always exclusively just play Fender products, Fender guitars. The guy always plays Fender Jazzmasters. He has a bunch of different ones, different colored ones, and the gal that plays bass, she always plays this Fender jazz bass. I think it might be a Fender Japan jazz bass, if I'm not mistaken. But so they were there, they were jamming out, and I got in just to catch maybe the last 2 or 3 songs of their set. Made it into the building. It was a lot cooler in there, packed out capacity. In there, there was some more guitar stories set up in there, but you couldn't really see it. It's just like a room of people packed in there with, you know, the band jamming away. They ended up having 3 bands there that night. You know, a little break in between each one. The second band was sort of a campus alternative rock kind of pop thing with a little bit of progressive jam out elements. And then the third band, to close out the evening, they were kind of emptying out the room. They got some, you know, aggressive hardcore punk band to play, kind of more like a Bad Brains kind of a vibe. So by that time, it was only the dead hardcore hangers-on still there, soaking up the free booze and vibes. And so they had the 3 bands. And then around the outside of the room, they kind of had chairs like this set up, and some couches, and some like little crappy Fender practice amps, Mustang practice amps and stuff. And then they had some of the guitars sitting around, like hanging on a hanger or sitting there. You could play it. So I did get a chance to play a couple of the guitars. And I saw, you know, some guys playing some of the other guitars, and I'll tell you a bit about that after we review the guitars. So, but I'll tell you the main thing about the guitars is they look beautiful, right? So as soon as they had them mounted in these cases on the wall, I'll show you the pictures. As I was looking at those guitars, they're just very, very striking, very, very well done, really, really nice. The paint, the fit, the finish, the details, really, really nice. So really well done, really befitting of a top end kind of guitar in this price category, I guess. So I'll show you some of the kind of telephone photos I took, and I'll tell you just some little quick impressions of each guitar. Okay, so the guitars that they're featuring at the event. Here's a picture of them, the wall, when the room was emptied out. You can see how all the guitars were prominently displayed if no one is in the room. So starting with the first one on the left was the Telecaster, and oh my, it's just like, you know, if you can imagine the nice early broadcaster or you know. This Telecaster, you'd say Bruce Springsteen would say, "Oh my, that's a nice Telecaster," right? Like he might think about getting rid of his if he needed a spare. Maybe he could use one of these. Man, it looked really, really nice, really authentic and tasty. And when I got a chance to play this one later, it played really nicely, really aggressively, like almost like made you want to play Jimmy Page, Jimmy Page, Yardbirds, and early Zeppelin kind of vibes, not like a country telly vibe, but a real kind of a rock early telly vibe. Really, really conjured that vibe up. The next one up would be the Jazzmaster, and I'm not really usually a Jazzmaster guy, but again, this one would just be the most beautiful Jazzmaster I would think you could own. Like, I'm a sucker for beautiful custom colors like this. The red and the white is always a winner color scheme. The block binding on the neck, really nice binding down the neck. And then for me, just the knobs, the white and black plastic on the knobs, they were just really beautiful. It looked just like a toy candy guitar. The matching red headstock, just immaculate. Again, I'm not a Jazzmaster guy, but I wanted to grab this off the wall and just run home and take it home. If I was going to buy a Jazzmaster to have one, I could easily see grabbing this one. Which brings us to the 2 basses, I guess. And they have the early style 54 P bass, which they haven't had a really nice, authentic early P bass split single coil P bass I think in their lineup for a number of years, they've had kind of the Japanese Sting bass, and at a lower price point, and a Mike Dirnt kind of bass with a modern pickup in there. But this is like a really down and out 54 authentic bass with a Telecaster headstock, really nice color scheme, really gentle on the eyes. Here, this is Texas, Austin, Texas. Of course, ZZ Top is hallowed ground. R.I.P. Dusty Hill, man. This is the Dusty bass. Everybody, it comes with flat wounds. If you're ever going to ship a bass with flat wounds, this is the bass you're going to want to have the flat wounds on. I thought this bass looked fantastic, but a little bit of a flaw on it. That single coil pickup, I looked at it close. It was bent, right? I'm a little bit OCD, but you got all these immaculate guitars there. You're putting these up, setting them up. It just drove me crazy that it was crooked. It was tilted. I would be pretty upset if I got that, if that made it through the Sweetwater 56 point checkout. I'd be surprised. Anyways, the other bass is the Jazz, and it is beautiful. I saw a guy playing it, jamming it at the other side of the room on the couch, and I said to him, man, that looks like the famous picture of Bob Dylan holding the Jazz bass. It looks exactly like that bass. And again, it had beautiful white binding down the neck, just offset it, the sunburst paint, the color on it, just fantastic, looked perfect, really, really well done. Though the basses looked really good to me. I wish I would have had a chance to play them. I didn't, but they were really nice. The only guitar that really was a bit of a miss for me, just not my bag, was here the 72 Telly. Kind of, I would say, a country kind of guitar. Not really a manly guitar in my mind. A bit of a hippie vibe with a natural wood, and that F-hole kind of makes it always seem a little bit lightweight to me. And you've got to admit that pickguard is a bit feminine. This is definitely a guitar that's lacking in testosterone for me. Somebody who, I grew up raised on Kiss, so I'm sorry. I don't think Kiss would play this guitar, so probably I would not either. But I'm sure it's great for certain things. Maybe if you had a, I don't know, Wailing Jennings tribute or something, I don't know, something like that. But brings me to what would be my favorite of the bunch, of course, visually, would be the Strat. Oh my, the 50 Strat with the maple neck, right? I've got a Sonic Blue, Daphne Blue one back here. That's a Japanese Strat you can see in the background. But I've always wanted a Seafoam Green one, and that's what they were displaying here. And it was beautiful to look at and behold. But I'll tell you, here's where you get the wah-wah trombones out. I went over, and this one they did have available to play, one hanging on the wall. I picked it up, went to play it. Boom! Unplayable. You've heard about the guitars that are NOS. This guitar is POS. What a fail. It had that thing that these vintage Strats have sometimes, I guess, where the neck is really thin or not wide, and the strings stick out to the edge, and then they fall off the neck. And both, sometimes you have it on the high side. This was on the high side and the bass strings. So you're playing along. I was just jamming a little bit, falling off, then to the bass side, falling off there. Oh, I couldn't believe it. What a disappointment. Can you imagine if you saved up? That's not a small amount of money. They want like $2,200 for these. And if I saved up all my money, that might be a once a year purchase for me. And I make a pretty decent wage, I feel. And if I got that for Christmas for myself, and it came to me with, I pulled it out of the case, and I could only play 4 out of the 6 strings, I would be so disappointed. So I don't know, man. Mixed results. I wish I had a chance to play all the other guitars. I wish the whole event was set up so that you could play the guitars. That's what I thought it was going to be, a guitar-eccentric event where guitar nerds could go down and play all the guitars. But it wasn't really. There wasn't. It was only like the guitars were incidental to the whole thing. It was mostly just some bands playing, some people getting free drinks and getting drunk, listening to the band. And then as soon as the bands were over, they were out of there. As soon as the free drinks were over, they were out of there, right? So okay, final half of the video. I'm going to expose the scandal, how I kind of left a sour taste in my mouth from this event, and then final some closing thoughts. So first, the scandal was the giveaway, the sweepstakes. It was really vaguely worded in the press release that gets you down here. Some of the press releases sort of suggest that everybody that comes is going to have a chance to buy a guitar, a $2,000 guitar for $229, Wouldn't that be awesome? That can't be real. So, maybe it's like a sweepstakes. And I think somewhere I think I saw one where it said there was like maybe 25 guitars. So maybe it's like, oh, you're going to have a sweepstakes chance to win, a guitar. That still sounds like pretty good odds if they had 25 guitars at each event. That was interesting. That was kind of something that really excited me about going down there. I'm down there. I'm looking around. Where's the sweepstakes? Where's the sweepstakes? There is no sweepstakes, right? They already had the sweepstakes at the day event, right? So all the poor sucker chumps that come down at night that had to work during the day, the sweepstakes is over and all those free guitars are given away already, right? So, who was at the day event? Well, I hear there was less people at the day event, right? So it turns out there was even an event the day earlier, right? So I saw somewhere on the internet that the day before they had more, like they set the pop-up up and they have 2 days. They have the day before on Thursday, they'll have, that's the corporate party. That's the inside party. That's for the real cool people, for the real high rollers. You could come down. And I guess they had for that, Adrian Casada's band played. So he's the guy that's the mastermind of the Black Pumas. And he produced a Sword record. And he did Brown Sabbath. And he played with Prince. And he did all these things. And now he's got a new thing that's like Mexican music. Influenced on psychedelic music from the 60s, so melodicos, psychedelicos, so something like that is his new gig he's doing now. So he came down and played, I guess, on Thursday. Too bad, that would have been a cool band to see for free. I wonder what he got paid for that. I wonder if he got $5,000 for that or something, maybe $10,000. Who knows, man? How much did Fender, spoon out to these bands to play? But that was the private party. So maybe was there any Fender staff there then? There was none at this event. I saw a lot of Fender t-shirts, and that was on the bar staff, the bar backs, the wait staff, the security. But there was nobody there that was like a Fender guy or a Fender sales guy or a Fender rep or a Fender manager, like overseeing the whole thing, at least as far as I could see. There was a couple people that had the blue wristband that were kind of getting catered to. So these are like high rollers, maybe from ACL. And I think that's what they did during the day. Maybe they had people from ACL, Procter & Gamble VP or something come in, with his blue wristband on. They came in, they said, some girls that were there said, oh, I heard at the afternoon you had like a 1 in 3 chance of winning the guitar. So that makes about sense. The room was like 100 person capacity. Maybe there were 75 people there, 25 guitars. Maybe every third person got a free guitar, got a $200 guitar. So that's great if you were part of the inside crowd, right? So that's what really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. It really makes me feel like it was a scam. It was a shell game, and Fender kind of really scammed out with this press release that they're sending out to a fanboy that's really excited me about going down and seeing all these Fender guitars, not really getting to see and play the guitars, and not really having the chance to get even the sweepstakes or a chance to win the guitar. That kind of sucked. That kind of was lame. That was weak sauce Fender. Total thumbs down. So, what did Fender gain out of this event, right? What was it? I didn't really see too many people that were there that were like Fender fans or even guitar players or enthusiasts. I could see a couple guys that were fanboys that had a bunch of posters and they're walking around, with all the posters in their hands. But then there was like 2 or 3 of those guys, and there was 5 or 6 guys in the line to record playing guitar, so they must play guitar. Other than that, it was mostly guys and their dates there, drinking free drinks and jamming to just watching the bands, and then they split. So Fender, how much money did they put into this event? Did they spend $100,000? Did they spend $150,000, $200,000, right? To set up, build this place, put all these Fender pictures up. Here's in the room, like all these pictures, a bunch of them are Fender 50s posters and pictures, but some of them are just cool pictures of Elvis and stuff, to make you feel good. And it's like brand lifestyle advertising. Like they're willing to pay this much money to just kind of like have an event at ACL in the background to make somebody feel good about Fender. Did it make anybody feel good about Fender that matters, that actually plays Fender guitars? I don't know, man. I think it's a misfire. I think it's a corporate thing that I guess they don't care, man. They just blew the cash in their marketing budget. It was part of the launch of the product line, and they're going to do one in Tokyo too, right? So what do you want to bet that in Tokyo the same thing happens? The average Joe Blow proletariat reporter or something in Japan from a guitar store, is he going to get a free guitar? I don't know. Is some Japanese industrialist that's a billionaire that comes to the early party, is he going to get a free guitar? Probably. And it's ironic because these are the people that need it the least. They need it the least, and they're not even going to play it. But wouldn't some other guy that was a Fender fanboy love it if he won a guitar, right? What if you took that $250,000 and just blew out a bunch of these guitars really low price? What if you had a subscription where you could say anybody that wants to subscribe on the first day, we're going to launch the American Vintage 2 Day at midnight, first hour, everybody that signs up is going to get deep discount. You're going to get 60% off or something, right? You're going to get that guitar, right? First one day only, right? If you don't buy it that first day, or it's subject to the first 1,000, or it's subject to the first, however many of these you could do. Wouldn't that put a lot of goodwill into the marketplace? Wouldn't that make people feel good about Fender? I think it would. It'd be like a story that people could tell for the next 20 years. Oh yeah, I got this, I got this 50 Strat. But that's my thoughts. That's just me. I don't have the corporate mind. So I'm sure, again, like, what do I know, right? These are the guys that are the millionaires. They're the guys that are running the company. I guess they know what they're doing, right? So, again, that's just what I thought, right? So I'm going to end it there, folks. Again, I'll say to wrap up, bottom line, Fender pop-up event, thumbs up, thumbs down. The guitars look great. Try before you buy them. Some of them play great. Maybe some of them don't. Thanks for the free drinks, Fender. Thanks for the good bands. It was really a good, fun time. I wish you could have one every week. I wish I had more guitars there and had a bigger chance to play the guitars. Thanks, everybody. Peace out. Later.